Hello, good people of the internet. Today I want to talk about failure and doing difficult things. So, before I get into that, as a side note, I just want to talk about what is a difficult thing. A difficult thing is different for everyone, it can be subjective. In the great words of Joe Rogan, the hardest thing you've ever done is the hardest thing you've ever done. Meaning, for some people, the hardest thing they've ever done is very difficult, compared to others, where the hardest thing that they've ever done is not as difficult on the scale of what all people have done at all times. But the hardest thing that you personally have done is the hardest thing that you have done. And if you see someone else struggling with something that seems very easy for yourself, you're just gonna maybe step back and realize the fact that they've had an easy life has been helpful in some ways, but a deficit in ways of having perseverance and, more resilient character. So there's that little point about difficult things. And yes, the next thing I want to talk about is things that are out of your control, which is most other people. Their actions, their thoughts. There's a lot of things out of your control. And so when you do try to do something, there's going to be obstacles. And a lot of times those obstacles are other people. And you can't control what they're going to do. You can do your best to try again, as the saying goes. But if ultimately there's someone else in your way, oftentimes you can't really do anything about that, especially not in that moment. You can leave yourself, come back. It doesn't mean you can't keep trying, though. That's, I guess, the point. And there are a lot of things out of your control, mainly other people. So just realizing when you have a failure, you're not focusing on what the other person did. You're focusing on what can I do? And it might just be trying exactly the same thing again. It might be coming back, regrouping, trying something new. Slight different adjustment, even if it is standing back and making a new plan for a whole different approach. What is in your control? That's what you have to learn from failure, not what is not in your control, which are hard to separate sometimes, but they are two different things. I want to talk about motivation. So motivation, I think we always think, I'm not very motivated today, whatever. You're always motivated. It's just sometimes you're motivated to do the opposite of what you want to be doing or wish you were doing or should. The should. Negative motivation does exist. And if you're not doing the things that you wish you were doing, you're not heading in the direction that you wish you were heading in, it's because your motivation to procrastinate, do the wrong thing, avoid whatever it is that you need to be doing, that motivation is stronger than your motivation to do the thing, to take action, to try. And I think that is like a self-preserving mechanism, because then you can tell yourself you haven't had a failure because you didn't do it. You didn't even start to do it. So you're avoiding the pain of failure. So that's the two things. You're moving towards pain or you're moving towards pleasure. Those are the two sides. And I think often the motivation to avoid pain is stronger than the motivation to eventually get the thing that you want. And the thing is, sometimes the things that you need to do to get to where you want to be aren't going to be the pain thing. And you have to be realistic about that. Action is the thing to get you out of the dwelling. Dwelling on setbacks. Counteracting the dwelling with reflection and moving towards a positive action. Do one action, it's going to give you the momentum to do another action, that's going to give you momentum to do another action. And after all these little things, you're going to eventually be more disciplined. Discipline and motivation are linked because discipline, you're letting the positive motivation win over the negative motivation. Even if you have been leaning towards negative motivation on inactivity, doing the wrong thing, etc. Discipline is just doing the thing that you don't want to do, usually. Feeling the fear and the anxiety about it, all that, but doing it anyway. And having the fear of the pain for future, present, and doing it anyway, that is what courage is. It's not that you're not afraid. It's that you're doing it anyway. You're taking the action. Action is the way to overcome failure. Dwelling is the way to avoid life and avoid progressing. So yeah, spend more time focusing on what you can do for yourself. That's the thing, and it's gonna keep happening. You have to also anticipate that I'm gonna try again, and there's a good chance that I will fail again, or that I will have some sort of pain result, or that I'll be frustrated, or that it's not going to work out the way that I would like it to work out. But you have to understand you're not going to want to do the thing. It might not work out. You might have to try again and again and again. But that doesn't mean not to try. Avoiding failure is a failure. We don't normally think of it like that because inaction seems like it's baseline fine. But inaction is an action, and it's a motivation to not do things. So negative motivation. So we have to acknowledge that that's what we're doing to ourselves. It's not other people doing it to us. Those other people are out of your control. Their thoughts and actions you cannot control, but you can control your own actions. Thoughts, maybe a different thing. And your thoughts will betray you and try to get you to not do the thing because you don't want to have the disappointment and the pain of failure. But again, that's a short-term thing. And having the discipline is continuing to do it anyway. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention is that if you have like a goal, like I'm trying to do daily things now, I'm going to do this, walk up my flights of stairs every day. I'm trying to make my bed every day, clean the kitchen every day. I'm trying to like get myself into a daily routine. But if there's one day where I miss something, that doesn't mean all those other days were failures. And you have to acknowledge that each day that you have done some things and made actions positive, to acknowledge that those did also happen. It's not like I did it for 14 days and then one day I didn't do it. That means all 15 days were a failure. No. Don't be crazy. Really acknowledge when you have done something positive. And yeah, I don't know. That's my video about failure and difficult things. Nothing new. This is all repeated information, but yeah, hope you enjoyed. Peace.